because I like food. I love the idea of food. I love the idea of eating, and I would watch people eat with relish and enjoyment, and I just watched that so enviously. And so that's when I decided that I couldn't do it on my own. After trying on my own for a couple of years, I had to get help. So that's when I sought out you.
So this was not a weight issue for you, right? This was a deeper fear, really, of being here and living and feeding yourself and making that work.
Yes. Yes, it was. And I felt this deep-seated fear in me that just wouldn't go away. And so where with food I was afraid to eat, I was afraid to be alone in my house. I was afraid really of everything. And so I think that fear that I was living with just kept coming over into my life into different areas. And when it got to the food portion of it, that's when it was like this huge wake-up call of like, I have got to do something about this fear because it was destroying my life.
So that's an interesting observation, that if I'm hearing you right, what you're saying is you had some core fears going on, and they were showing up in many areas of your life. Food was actually just one area, but the fact that it was showing up with food actually was the catalyst for you, was the motivation to really start working on it, which showed up as the food, but it was really working on the fear.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I know something you've probably heard me say many times is how you do food is how you do life.
Yes.
And that's a great example of that. So did you have awareness of that at the time, of whatever these fears were around your food were also showing up and manifesting in different areas of your life?
No, I didn't connect them. I didn't connect them at all. When digestion started getting really bad, to where it was just hard to digest anything, I was kind of cluing in that stress took a part in that, but I wasn't really relating food to how I was doing life. And so you kind of put all that together for me, fit those puzzle pieces together, and got me to really see that clearly.
Well, I'm glad that happened.
True. Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Let's talk about the puzzle pieces coming together and what actually made a change in all of this. Is there anything that pops out for you that you remember, a technique, a tool, a system of thinking, something that started that shift that got you into a new place without having all this fear around your food?
Yes. The process, which was where I had to stop and recognize and be aware of the fear that was coming in and to just feel it for a moment. Because I had always, the minute the fear came in, I took an about face and ran from it. And so you were having me look at it square in the eye for a moment, breathe it in, and ask myself questions like, is this real? Do I have any proof that it's going to hurt me, harm me? Do I have any proof that this food is actually going to cause something to happen within me? And so you got me asking those question and answers so that I could shift from the emotional state of it into looking at it logically and kind of almost stepping out of it, not being so in it. It's kind of interesting because in one way I was not living in the moment. I was outside of the moment, afraid to step into it. And so I was running away from it, but you were having me actually step into the present moment, but at the same time in doing that, it had me look at it from a different perspective.
Because you actually looked at it and stepped into it. Which is a little confusing, but
that was from a different perspective, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was really what started causing the shift in me, I feel like. Was actually stepping into it and looking at it.
So it was really just the invitation maybe to do that, whereas before that just wasn't something you thought about. It wasn't something you even said to yourself, I need to step into the moment, or I need to be present in the moment. It wasn't until maybe I just simply gave you the invitation to do that. Is that?
Yes. That is so correct, because I would not even have thought of stepping into it, because I thought, my interpretation was that fear would get much more powerful that it would overwhelm me and overtake me if I even stepped close to it.
So then
And
what happened instead? So the fear was it was going to overwhelm you and overtake you. And what happened in real life?
instead, I realized that as I began looking at it, being in the moment with it, it rolled away versus getting bigger. So it just got smaller. And it took practice being able to be in that moment with it. But I found that through that practice, I could sit there with it, and that the tension in my neck, the knot in my throat, I could begin to feel a relaxed feeling flow down even into my stomach and diaphragm, that the clenching, I could actually put my mind there and be able to let it release versus sit there frozen in terror. And so I was able to really get into the moment and feel myself relax into it, and it would ebb away versus getting stronger, which was, we totally think it's going to just overwhelm us and kill us,
We do.
But it doesn't.
Isn't that the core fear? Isn't that why we don't do it? Why we don't often step in a moment or step into a feeling or really be present with what is going on in the moment? Because really our core thinking is, this is going to overtake me. I'm going to lose myself and dive under the wave of it, and I will never get out.
Yes.
And instead, what happens often is exactly what you experience, was by shedding the light on it and actually stepping into it, it starts to get smaller. It doesn't really expand and get bigger. But I am curious, did you have that experience too? Did you have any of those experiences where you stepped into it and first it got bigger? Do you remember that?
Yes, when I first started, it was kind of almost like if you can imagine yourself tipping your toe inside of a circle, and you're wanting to push your whole body in there, and you're like halfway in and you feel that feeling get bigger and bigger. So I think that's a lot of the reason why it's so scary to step into it, because initially, because of our own fear, it just will envelop, but then it just immediately goes back down. So it's like a fraction of a moment. But to me, that's what keeps us from stepping into that.
It is. That's a great way of saying it.